you ever feel like you're just, well, swimming in information, you're trying to grasp something complex, maybe a new technology, and it's just jargon overload?
Yeah, article after article, and you end up more confused than when you started.
Exactly. That feeling is why we do the deep dive. We try to, cut through all that, pull out the really core stuff, and give you that clear understanding.
No headache involved, hopefully.
That's the plan. So today, we're diving into something pretty foundational in software development: automated testing, specifically a tool called QTP, or as most know it now, UFT.
It's a big one in the history of making software work reliably.
So if you've heard these terms thrown around or you're just curious about how we make sure complex software doesn't break, this is definitely for you.
That's right. We're going to be leaning heavily on insights from QTP UFT, Automated Functional Testing Excellence. We'll look at, what this tool actually is, why it matters so much, and what its main features tell us about quality assurance.
Yeah, our mission today really is to strip away the tech speak and give you a solid handle on this piece of the software puzzle. Okay, let's unpack this.
Sounds good. Where should we start? The beginning.
Yeah, let's set the scene. Think back, maybe a decade or two, building big software systems. It involved just endless manual testing.
Oh, absolutely. Weeks, sometimes months, of people clicking through screens, checking things by hand.
Super slow, right. And, well, people make mistakes. It created this huge bottleneck.
Definitely. Getting new features out was painful sometimes. And that's really the world that QuickTest Professional QTP first stepped into.
So QTP, what was its core job, essentially?
At its heart, QTP, which, like you said, became UFT, Unified Functional Testing, is an automated functional testing tool. Its main goal was simple: run tests automatically.
To find bugs.
Exactly. To find errors, defects, anything where the application wasn't behaving the way it was supposed to. It compares what the app does to what it should do.
Making sure it works as designed, but, automatically.
Precisely. And doing it consistently, at scale.
And its history tells a story, too, doesn't it? Started by Mercury Interactive.
That's right. Then HP bought them, a huge acquisition at the time.
And now it's part of MicroFocus. It's really mirrored some big shifts in the tech industry itself.
It really has. What's fascinating is how that journey shows the industry waking up to just how vital automation is.
Moving away from purely manual checks.
Yeah, instead of relying solely on people doing repetitive tasks, you get this tireless digital assistant, essentially. It wasn't just about going faster, though that was huge.
It was about accuracy, too.
Definitely. Reliability, precision, testing complex stuff in ways that humans just, can't consistently match over long periods.
That's a really powerful idea. But I have to wonder, did that digital assistant cause any friction, with the manual testers, or was it just seen as a clear win?
That's a fair question. Like any big change, there was probably some initial resistance here and there. Change is hard.
Sure, people worry about their jobs.
Right. But the benefits, the sheer efficiency boost, catching errors earlier, reducing that human error factor, they became pretty undeniable pretty quickly.
So what happened to the manual testers?
Their roles evolved, really. Instead of just clicking through scripts, they started focusing more on designing smarter tests, analyzing the complex results from the automated runs, adding more strategic value. It shifted the focus.
Okay, that makes sense. So plenty of testing tools have come and gone. Why do QTP UFT stick around? What made it stand out? This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
A big part of its early success was definitely its interface. It was icon-based.
Which sounds maybe trivial now, but
it was huge for accessibility. It meant you didn't have to be a hardcore programmer to use it.
So non-technical QA folks could jump into.
Exactly. Both technical testers, who could dive deep into scripting if they wanted, and non-technical people could use it effectively. That really broadened its appeal, democratized automation a bit.
And it had that core record and playback feature. Can you explain that a bit?
Sure. It's fundamental. Basically, you'd perform a set of actions in the application, manually clicking buttons, entering text, whatever.
Like a user would.
Right. And QTP would record those steps, essentially creating a script. Then you could just hit play, and the tool would repeat those exact steps automatically.
So you automate a workflow just by doing it once.
Pretty much, yeah. That was the entry point for many people. Simple concept, incredibly useful for automating repetitive test cases.
And you mentioned something called the active screen. How did that fit in?
The active screen was clever. Think of it like a detailed snapshot taken during the recording or playback. It wasn't just the script. It captured the visual state of the application screen for each step.
So you could see what the application looked like when a step ran.
Exactly. It made debugging so much easier. If a test failed, you could look at the active screen and see what the application actually looked like at that moment. It helped you understand why it failed.
Almost like a visual log.
Kinda, yeah. And crucially, it meant you could sometimes even enhance or analyze tests without needing the actual application running right there in front of you, because you had this visual reference, a real time saver on big projects.
And it wasn't just for one type of application, right?
No, that was another key strength. It was versatile. It could handle traditional desktop software and the web applications that were becoming more and more important.
And it was good at identifying things on the screen, like buttons and fields.
Yes, it had a really robust object identification mechanism. That's critical for automation. It needs to reliably find the button to click or the field to type in, even if, say, its position changes slightly on the screen.
Because UIs change all the time.
Constantly. So good object identification is key to making tests stable and not break every time there's a minor UI tweak.
And under the hood, how did it actually automate things? What language did it use?
UFT primarily uses VBScript.
Yeah.
And a huge advantage was its support for a massive range of software development environments.
Like what kind of environments?
Think big enterprise stuff. SAP, Oracle, Siebel, PeopleSoft, .NET, Java. The list goes on. It had add-ins for all sorts of technologies.
So it could plug into whatever complex systems a big company was using.
Pretty much. That broad compatibility was a massive selling point. It meant UFT could likely fit into your existing, maybe messy corporate tech stack without needing huge workarounds. That integration was key.
That makes sense. An intuitive interface gets you started, but for big companies, that compatibility is crucial. You also mentioned BPT, business process testing.
Right. That took things a step further. Instead of just testing small, isolated functions, BPT allowed teams to string tests together to represent entire end-to-end business processes.
Like testing the whole process from a customer placing an order online to it being shipped.
Exactly that kind of thing. You could model and automate testing for those complete workflows, which is absolutely vital for validating complex business logic in big enterprise applications.
Okay, so it wasn't just about individual clicks, but the whole business flow.
Yeah, and it also supported different ways of organizing your tests, popular automation framework.
Like keyword-driven or data-driven.
Precisely. Keyword-driven, modular testing, data-driven testing. These are structured approaches that make your automated tests easier to manage, reuse, and maintain, especially when you have hundreds or thousands of them. UFT supported these well.
And did it have tools for actually writing and managing the scripts?
Yes, it came with its own built-in IDE integrated development environment. It was specifically designed for working with VBScript and UFT's object model, making writing, debugging, and managing the scripts a smoother process.
So a self-contained environment.
Mostly, yeah. And critically, it didn't live in isolation.
Yeah.
It integrated really well with popular test management tools. Think HP Quality Center, which was often used alongside it, or Test Director before that.
So the test scripts linked up with the overall test plan and results tracking?
Exactly. This created a much more cohesive testing ecosystem. You could manage your different test suites, like your quick smoke tests to check basic stability, your comprehensive regression tests to catch anything broken by changes, or your targeted sanity tests, all within this managed environment.
Streamlining the whole process.
Definitely. Plus, things like built-in support for handling XML data and generating clear test reports made analyzing failures and communicating progress much, much easier. Maintenance became simpler.
It really sounds like it aimed to be the central hub for automated testing in complex environments. I remember projects years back where getting different testing tools to even talk to each other was a nightmare. Did UFT really help avoid those integration headaches?
To a large extent, yes. By supporting so many technologies directly and plugging into those standard management tools, it significantly cut down on the need for custom integrations and the complexity that comes with them. Teams could spend less time fighting the tools and more time focused on effective testing.
Okay, that covers its foundations and strengths. But tools need to keep evolving, right? What about the newer versions of UFT? What's been added?
Absolutely, it has to keep pace. Newer versions have focused on expanding that compatibility even further. Things like broader OS support, Windows 8.1, Windows Server 2012 were added over time.
And browsers, testing web apps is huge.
Critical. So support for browsers like Safari was added, and very importantly, they created a UFT extension for the Chrome Web Store.
Why is that significant?
Because it allows the extension needed to test Chrome applications to be updated automatically, keeping pace with Chrome's frequent updates.
Yeah.
That avoids tests breaking just because the browser updated.
That's smart. What else? Any new types of applications?
Yeah, support for Windows runtime objects was added. that lets you record, run tests, and build object repositories specifically for those modern Windows apps, the kind you might find in the Windows Store.
So keeping up with Microsoft's platforms.
Right. And also keeping up with the enterprise world. They added support for newer versions of technologies like Java Development Kit 1.8, Citrix and Desktop 7, and specific SAP technologies like WebDynPro ABAP for NetWeaver 7.4.
These sound quite specific, but I guess they're important for companies using those systems.
Exactly. They might sound niche, but for a company running its core business on SAP or using Zen Desktop for virtual environments, knowing their testing tool supports the latest versions is crucial. It shows UFT is still committed to those complex enterprise scenarios.
And more object recognition support, too.
Yes, continued extensions for recognizing objects in things like Siebel web applications and other specific SAP interfaces, again broadening its reach in those big corporate environments.
Any other interesting additions?
There were things like new methods for interacting with complex UI elements, like advanced data grids. They added specific flex table methods for those. And just as a practical note for people learning, the tool often still bundles a sample application, typically the flight reservation app.
The classic demo app.
Yeah, lots of training materials and tutorials use that as a standard example to teach the concepts. So, if you look at this continuous evolution, what does it really tell us about UFT's place?
Well, pulling it all together, QTP UFT really stands out as this incredibly comprehensive, adaptable tool for automated functional testing. Its journey, from focusing maybe more on desktops to becoming this enterprise-wide automation platform, it really highlights how vital it's been for improving software quality.
Making things more efficient, more accurate.
Exactly. Catching problems before they reach users and letting developers deliver software faster and more reliably.
And maybe this leads to a final thought for you to consider. When you have powerful tools like UFT, automating such a critical part of quality assurance, how did that fundamentally change the speed and the reliability with which new software, new features, new updates get out into the world?
That's a really interesting question.
And what does that shift then mean for how we as users interact with technology every single day? Because that speed and reliability or lack thereof really shapes our experience.
That's definitely something to chew on. We hope this deep dive gave you a clearer picture of QTP UFT. Maybe next time you update an app on your phone or use some complex work software, you'll think about the automated testing that likely happened behind the scenes, maybe even using tools just like this one. Thanks for joining us.